The hollow beneath Blackwood Manor. Nobody in the village remembered when Blackwood Manor had first appeared. The oldest maps showed an empty hill overlooking the river. The church records mentioned only the cursed rise, and the oldest gravestones faced away from it, as if the dead themselves wished to avoid looking in its direction. Still, the house stood there, Naso, silent. Its windows reflected no sunlight. Its bricks seemed damp even during droughts, and every 30 years, someone disappeared inside. When Ethan Mercer inherited the manor from a distant relative he'd never met, he left. Probably another collapsing old mansion, he told his friends. The locals did not laugh. At the village cafe, conversations stopped when he mentioned the address. An old waitress gripped his wrist so tightly that her nails drew blood. Don't stay after sunset. Ethan smiled politely. I don't believe in ghost stories. She shook her head. They're not ghosts. Blackwood Manor was larger than any photographs suggested. Its front door stood nearly 15 feet tall, carved with strange circles and twisted faces whose expressions seemed to change whenever Ethan looked away. Inside, the air smelled of wet stone and forgotten cellars. Dust covered everything. Yet there were footprints, hundreds of them, bare human footprints, every size imaginable, all leading deeper into the house, none returning. Ethan assumed teenagers had been trespassing. He followed them anyway. The hallways stretched impossibly long. He walked for nearly 20 minutes before reaching the dining room. From outside, the house could not possibly have been that large. He checked his phone. No signal, no GPS. The compass spun endlessly. Then he heard footsteps. From upstairs. The second floor contained hundreds of doors. Some opened into bedrooms, others opened into libraries. One opened onto a beach beneath a moonless sky. Waves rolled silently onto black sand. A child stood ankle-deep in the water. She looked back. She had no face. Ethan slammed the door shut. His breathing echoed through the hallway, except there was another breathing behind him, very close. He turned. Nothing, but the wallpaper had changed. Where moments before there had been faded flowers, there were now thousands of tiny eyes painted into the pattern. Every eye blinked. At once, that night he locked himself in the master bedroom. At exactly 2:13 a.m. someone knocked. 3 slow taps. Ew, it was his mother. Impossible. She had died 6 years earlier. Ethan, sweetheart. He stared at the door. The voice cracked exactly as he remembered. I know you're angry. Another knock. I only need one hug. His hands trembled. Every memory flooded back. The hospital, the funeral, the regret. He stepped toward the door. His fingers touched the handle. Then he noticed something. His mother's voice was coming from beneath the door. Not through it. From the crack under the frame. As though she were lying flat on the floor outside, looking in, waiting. He backed away. The voice became desperate. Yeah, then furious. Yeah, then inhuman. The scream lasted until dawn. The next morning, the hallway outside the bedroom was wet. Not with water, with fingerprints. Thousands of bloody fingerprints covered the walls. Each one pointed downward, toward the basement. There had been no basement entrance the day before. Now there was. A stone staircase descended into darkness. The smell rising from below resembled old hospitals and seawater. Against every instinct, Ethan descended. The steps continued for over an hour. The deeper he went, the warmer the air became. Then he reached the bottom. The cavern beneath the manor was larger than the village above it. Columns of flesh rose into darkness like the trunks of giant trees. Veins pulsed through the ceiling. The ground moved slightly beneath his feet. The entire cave was alive. At its center sat a city. Thousands of abandoned houses, schools, churches, entire streets, all underground. Every building was covered with roots that looked disturbingly like human arms. He entered one of the houses. The furniture was arranged neatly. Dinner still sat on the table. Fresh steam rose from the food. A radio played music from the 1940s. Upstairs, he found family photographs. The faces were scratched away, except one, his own, in every picture, as a baby, as a teenager, as an old man, as someone he'd never become. The final photograph showed him standing before an enormous mouth in the center of the underground city. He was smiling. Behind the photograph someone had written, "He returns every cycle." The lights went out. He heard breathing, not one pair of lungs. Millions. The walls split open. People emerged, or what had once been people. Their skin hung loose. Their joints bent backward. Their eyes had no whites, only endless black. They surrounded him silently. No one attacked. An elderly woman stepped forward. Half her face had fused with bone. We've waited. For what? For you to remember. I've never been here. She tilted her head. Not this time. Memories exploded inside his mind. He remembered dying. And again. He remembered different names, different centuries, different countries. He remembered discovering the cave beneath the hill thousands of years ago. He remembered hearing a voice beneath the earth. He remembered feeding it. Villages, armies, empires. He remembered becoming immortal, then begging for death. The thing beneath the world would not let him die. It simply sent him back, born again, memories erased, until the house called him home. Every 30 years, forever, the ground shook. The city began to sink. Buildings folded into the earth like paper. The creatures fled. The old woman smiled sadly. It's hungry. What is? She pointed below. The stone cracked open, and I looked up. It was larger than the village. Its pupil contained stars. Galaxies rotated within it. Civilizations burned and vanished in its reflection. The eye blinked. The sound shattered buildings. Then the mouth opened. The underground city slid toward it, not falling, being inhaled. Hill, modes, trees, everything, pulled silently into impossible darkness. Ethan grabbed a pillar. The force increased. His fingers snapped one by one. His skin tore. His scream disappeared before reaching his own ears. The eye looked directly at him. Then a voice entered his thoughts. You promised me eternity. I don't remember. You always say that. When rescue teams finally entered Blackwood Manor 2 weeks later, they found nothing unusual. No underground city, no tunnels, no bodies, just dust, and one photograph lying on the dining table. It showed 6 smiling investigators standing before the house. Behind them, visible in an upstairs window, stood Ethan. He looked terrified. His hands were pressed against the glass. His mouth formed 2 words, "Don't come." The investigators never noticed him. They smiled for the camera. Months later, the photograph changed. The investigators were gone. The upstairs window was empty, and in the front doorway stood 7 people, all smiling, waiting for the next visitor. The villagers still avoid the hill. Children are warned never to count the manor's windows, because if they reach the correct number, one more window appears, and behind its glass, someone who looks exactly like them smiles and gently taps from the inside. 3 slow knocks, waiting for someone to answer.